the Subcommittee of Economic Development together. It's 5:30. I want to welcome everybody here. First, I'd like to open this meeting, have the city clerk call the roll.
Chairman Samaras,
Present.
Council Leary,
Here.
Council Milonazo.
Here.
3 present.
I'd also like to acknowledge that City Councilor Rita Mercy is here, City Councilor John Leahy is here, and City Councilor Corey Belanger. Thank you. Okay, before we begin this meeting, I want to thank John Power, a local developer, for being here tonight. I want to welcome you to us. And tonight, you're going to talk about some of the projects that you've developed in the city of Lowell. As one of Lowell's largest commercial taxpayers, we appreciate the fact that you are here to talk about your projects and what you've developed. But I think I can speak for the entire city council when we say thank you for what you did to your smokestack at the Wanalancet Mills by decorating that as a Christmas tree for the holidays. It's become a landmark that everyone notes, and I want to thank you for doing that because you did that at your own expense. But it does help make this city a destination city, so we're very proud of that. So without anything else, we'd like to have you just give this subcommittee information, if you could, on what you have developed in this city and what you're looking forward to doing in this city, if you don't mind.
Councilor, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I have to say that the smokestack.
Is your microphone on, John?
Yeah.
Introduce Jim Cook. How's that? Is that on now?
John, I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce somebody, but sometimes I'm very careful. Mr. Cook is here from the Lowell Plan. I want to thank Mr. Cook for coming here and taking time from his very busy day to be here. We appreciate that. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Power.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. So I was, what I was going to say was that the smokestack is actually, that is a pure joy. I have to say that in every year that we do this, we receive letters from young folks from the city thanking me, which is really sort of silly in some respects, for my tree. But I've gotten some wonderful support from the Lowell Sun, and I'm optimistic, encouraged that next year we're going to see more than just one, and I truly do believe that if we can see 2 or 3, that we're going to get a lot done, and it would be an amazing sight. And so I'm still holding on to that vision, and so I'm crossing my fingers, and we're going to keep pushing and keep asking folks to keep Christmas alive all the way through the whole year. So we'll see how that goes. But as I was thinking about the conversation and what we do in the city of Lowell, I think that back well over 20 years ago, when we were involved in leasing Cross Point, one of the things that became very clear to me at that time was that Lowell was a different place than what most people and most developers get to experience, because Lowell was a place where people were asking questions. People were trying to find out how could they help somebody do their job better, how could they improve the quality of life in the city. And those are questions that don't always get asked, and it's a critically important component to what you try to do as you try to compete to relocate companies and to expand companies and businesses in cities. In the last 5 years or so, urban areas have become sort of the hot thing. But for the longest time, urban areas weren't the hot thing. And Lowell was ahead of its time in that regard in promoting urban development. The organizations that have gotten developed here, the relationships. Councilor, you mentioned Jim Cook. I mean, the Lowell Plan. That's a concept that is being replicated in cities all around the country today in trying to get public-private partnerships together to promote economic development. When we started off, just as a brief history, we started off now about 18 years ago when we bought the Wanalancet Mills, and today we've grown that portfolio of properties from Wanalancet at about just a little over 250,000 square feet, to Cross River Center, the 1001 Pawtucket Boulevard building, and now the office is over at the Boot Mill. So we have 3 properties in Lowell, and actually, our company, which now has a portfolio of about 3.5 million feet, well over 1 million of it is in Lowell itself. I was looking this morning just to think about what has happened over the last 2 years, which is literally the amount of time we've owned Cross River Center. And in the last 2 years, we have completed 278,000 square feet of leasing over at Cross River Center. Cross River Center today is 80% rented. When we purchased it, it was 40% rented. That didn't just happen because we showed up and had a nice smile, but rather, we had the opportunity and we had the ear of the city, and the city manager was extremely helpful in us attracting Metrographics. When they first came in, they were 35,000 square foot tenant. He was very helpful with that. We were very fortunate to have Scheidt & Bachman come in, and initially we thought that we were going to end up having to put together an economic package for Scheidt & Bachman to attract him from Burlington, because moving a company from Burlington to Lowell, that's a big deal. That's a very different thing. As it turned out, the property itself was compelling to them, and so we didn't need to come back to the city and say we need help here. And so, and we believe, my partner and I both believe very strongly that we don't want to just ask for things for the sake of asking, because we know that if we come and ask for something, that the city is going to take that request seriously, and they're going to work on it. And so we try to come to the city and to the city manager, and when we have a need, when we've come across a roadblock where we're saying we've got a struggle here, we're competing with another community where somebody's put an economic package on the table, or where there may be some issues outside of our control from an economic development perspective, be that tax credits, be that TIFs or other types of things, then we're going to come to the city and ask for those things, but not just ask for them because they're out there and available, but rather try to find a specific need and then do that. We were very fortunate of that space. Autoliv, which is a company that had been at Cross River Center, Autoliv just committed to expand their presence from 70,000 square feet up to 130,000 square feet. They're going to move in their auto safety radar research, National Research Center, and is going to move into the building. So what they do is they make a product that takes radar type technology and uses it for automobiles to help them stop themselves, so that if a deer ran out in front of your car or something, it would stop rather than getting into an accident. So these auto safety systems are now will be designed in Lowell. They've been designed somewhat, but also the advanced research is going to start being done at Cross River Center. We just got this done, and they're going to be expanding and probably adding somewhere between 75 and 150 jobs, depending on how the space ends up laying out for them. So we've been very fortunate with that, and that was an expansion that happened because they liked the city, because they had been here for a while, and because they knew the workforce was available to them to be able to grow that business model and to grow that technology. Interestingly enough, the radar technology gets a vast support from the University of Massachusetts. So they had technology right here at UMass Lowell, and that made a big difference for them. As an aside, we have also rented almost 40,000 feet over at in that same period over at Wanalancet. One of the newest occupants at Wanalancet's a company called CSPI. CSPI is important because they came from Billerica, but they moved to Lowell specifically because they wanted to recruit better talent from the university, and they felt that if they were close to the university, they would have an ability to recruit better talent. So we're starting to become the beneficiary, and I think the city is going to become the beneficiary of the quality of the students and the improvement of the students at the university, and all of the investments that are being made, both by the city and by the Commonwealth in the university. And then lastly, we've started to get on a slightly smaller scale, but still somewhat, we're making some progress over at the boot mill, and we've started to rent some of the spaces there to some smaller firms. And we've just brought in 5 different companies into the downtown. One of which, Clean Spirits, was over, had been at Wanalancet, needed some expansion space for some warehousing, went out to Chelmsford and decided that they didn't like it and came back in and moved back into the downtown. So we're starting to get some traction on the boot mill as well. Wanalancet's up over 90% rented. It's been, the city should take a real pride, and I mean this as a city, not just for us. We are fortunate that I have great people that work with us and take care of the buildings, but Wanalancet has historically been a building that has stayed more full than almost all of its competitors. And part of that is because when people get to Lowell, when they start to get used to the idea of being in an urban area and finding the amenities and the opportunities that happen around it, they start to enjoy it, and they don't tend to leave. And we have been very, very fortunate in that, and that's kept the occupancy up at that building. I would hope that Cross River Center is the same way, and I know that once we get the boot mill back on its feet and get it full, it still has about 40% of the building to fill up, but once it gets back on its feet and filled up, then I would expect that it will be in the same kind of position. And our goal is to try to find other projects in the future to do some more additional development.
That's terrific information. That exceeds far more than I was hoping for. Mr. Cook, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to add that we've had an opportunity to work with John going back to the mid-'90s, and I think, as he expressed, he was the leasing agent for who's now known as Cross Point. But they took that over at a time when that was looked at as a bit of a white elephant, and we didn't know what was going to happen with that property, and Wing had just vacated, and that was a lot of square footage on the market. But if you recall back then, the city, and I remember the exact dates, I want to say it was maybe in 94, 95, the city used this 108 program to do a letter of credit, which was a necessary tool to get NYNEX into that building. Is that correct? And at that time, that was a fairly innovative thing. As it turned out, not a dime was ever needed from the letter of credit, so it evaporated. But with that in place, NYNEX committed to that building. And the reason I bring that up is because it really, I think, showed John that there was a real willingness with the city to work with developers and to help them secure tenants. But John will not say this, and he'll probably be upset that I did, but there's probably nobody better at lining up tenants and giving them the hook and signing tenants to properties than, in all the years I've been here, than watching John do it. They filled up Cross Point. They moved on to Wanalancet. He bought Wanalancet, and look what he's done over there. Look what he's done at River Crossing, and look what he's going to do with the boot. So, I think the city's equally fortunate to have him here, but his ability to find tenants and lease them, in my years of experience, and I go back a ways here, probably is unprecedented.
Thank you. No, John, really, there's very little that we can say, but thank you. Because of your positive attitude, which you've always had, it's shown what we can do in Lowell. Could you sort of review again the several points that you feel why people want to come to Lowell that helped you, and we'll say selling the space that's available in Lowell? And then for me, another question would be, as a city council, we don't rent buildings, we don't sell things, we're the political force, so to speak. We work with the city manager to support the city manager. But the thing is, I think people, when they look at the community, they look at the political forces too. Are they in line? Do they work well together? I think we do. But, what could we do better to help developers like yourself be more successful in Lowell? So the reasons why you came to Lowell, and then what could we do better? Again, just a, recapitulation of what you stated.
Well, so from the reasons to be in Lowell, I think are Lowell has so as a starting point, so Jim might be nice, very complimentary, but real estate in some respects isn't rocket science. It becomes a question of somebody has a need, they have a business, and when they have a business, they want to find a place where they can run their business. They want to find a place where they can run their business where the political system is supportive of their business. They want to be able to find employees. They want those employees to be happy in that location. And then they want to find, they need a way to be able to distribute their products and sell them in the open market. That's a pretty straightforward thing. Lowell is incredibly fortunate in one respect because in comparison to where I grew up in Brockton, the mill buildings in Lowell were brick and the mill buildings in Brockton were wood. And so as some of them were not as paid attention to in Brockton, they started to rot, and so they went away. And so some of that wonderful product that today exists at the boot for the residential buildings that want to Lancet as office space, those don't exist in some places. So you have a really great starting point, which is beautiful architectural structures, and you've taken care of those structures, which is important. It's really important. And so as people start to go out and look for space, they want to look for something that's flexible. They want to look for something where their employees are going to be happy and where they're going to feel safe. Now, the city has done enormous things for us. When we first came into Wanalancet, which, by the way, was when we first bought Wanalancet, the Courier building was still sitting out there in front of what is now the arena. And there was a question about crime, and we were trying to move people into downtown Lowell. And the chief came up and said, "I'll put a car out in front of your building, and I'll put a detectives unit at the building, and we'll leave that detectives unit there for as long as you need somebody there." Well, today I can tell you that I'm very proud that detectives unit's not there any longer. We don't need it. We have had the support that we needed, and so now it can go and the police department can focus on those other areas that it needs to focus on, and our customers feel safe at the Wanalancet, and that's one of the reasons why they stay. So there are all kinds of different cities that, by the way, wouldn't have done that, wouldn't have even thought of coming up. That was Chief Davis, by the way. Chief Davis was the one that did that when he came there, and part of the reason he understood it was, candidly, I talked to him at a Lowell Plan meeting. And so we talked about some of the challenges. We had a small customer. They were interested in being there, but the women were nervous. We had a conversation, and they felt more comfortable about it, and it moved the conversation to a different level, which is, how does the space work? How do we come up with a set of economics that work for you? How do we help your business grow and thrive? So that's the important part for what the city can do. And as I say, that becomes sometimes very specific to an individual customer. Some customers, they look at a property, they look at an opportunity, you can actually sell them on the opportunity, you can solve their needs within the building and within my economic world. Other times, we might need some assistance. The 108 money for 9X New England Telephone, this small company that wanted some security support. We got help from the police department. How the city does it, it becomes a question of asking the questions of the customers, finding out what they need, and then trying to give them a package that works for what they want and what they need. I think from my perspective, one of the most important things for us is the fact that the city asks the question. I know most of the city councilors by name, by face, and that is an unusual situation in a lot of cases because I've had obviously some history here, I've had the support, but you all are available, and so you make yourself available, and we know, and I would not just, by the way, put myself in this category, but I would put others, I believe, in the real estate community in this category, that we feel that we can reach out to the city manager, to the councilors, to speak to folks, to throw around ideas, to say, here's a challenge I'm having, how would I solve that? And I think those kinds of issues and that kind of support is a critical component to get someone in here, because every customer is different, every company is different. And so finding what somebody needs and how to make it work for them is sort of a unique Rubik's Cube. You sort of try to put it all together and figure out how do you make it all fit. And when you've got things that pull together, it makes the job a whole lot easier.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me begin, John, by thanking both you and Jim Cook for being here this evening. And thank you for the work that you do in our community. I know you serve as the co-chair of the Lowell Plan, and you've spoken at public matters, and you really do give back to the Lowell and the greater Lowell community. So I want to thank you for that. I have a question relative to Cross River, Cross River Center. How many employees are currently in the building, and are where do they primarily travel from? Are they coming in Route 3 over the Rourke Bridge, or are they going all the way up Route 3, coming Dunstable or Tingsboro? Just thinking about how the city might be able to help, again, working with our state delegation if you have specific transportation issues. And to also say that, as you mentioned, you good working relationship with City Manager Murphy, and as I look out and see his team here, Diane Trad, Allison Lamy, and Craig Thomas, I mean, again, having people like that on the ground certainly helps Farley White and what you're trying to do in Lowell. But again, my question really, going back to Cross River Center, how many employees and where are they primarily traveling from to get here?
So the employee count today is approximately 800, and I would expect that when we have the extra, as we fit out these other two spaces, we'll be probably up over 1,200. Our long-term goal is to have up over 1,600 employees in the building. I'm very confident we can get to that point. Those employees tend to come in two directions. One is they come from southern New Hampshire, and they come down the boulevard, from up over the Tingsboro Bridge and down the boulevard. The other spot that they tend to come from is from south in the, for example, the Scheiten-Bachman group is going to come up from Burlington. They have a large employee base that both lives in Lowell, but they also have a group of engineers and design professionals that live in and around the Burlington area. And they will come up, and they'll come up over through Drum Hill and over the Rourke Bridge and up that way. The Rourke Bridge is going to be a challenge at some point. We have put together one of the really great things about Cross River Center is that it's a totally self-contained environment. So it has in it a very state-of-the-art cafeteria food service that's serviced by two chefs, which does a fabulous job. We have a full conference facility with catering available for folks to have meetings anywhere between 8 people and 200 people. We have a fitness center that is as nice as most gyms. It was a $500,000 fitness center. So we had to make some investments in the building to get us there. But when people are there, one of the challenges is one of the things we heard when we first bought the property was, and candidly, I will admit, I didn't view this as much of a challenge when we purchased the property as I do today. The Rourke Bridge, if people try to go out at lunch, it's really primarily lunch. It's not commuting patterns as much as it's that midday. They get to the other side, and then coming back, and they find they just don't have enough time because everyone's trying to do lunch in less than an hour. The idea of the old 2-hour lunch just doesn't happen anymore these days. So in trying to do lunch in less than an hour and trying to get some errands run during that time period, you end up struggling trying to get back. And so we've tried to set up at the property more of a self-contained environment to help folks solve some of those questions and get and make their day more efficient. And we think in general that's had some resonance with the new customers and with the old.
Just real quick. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's interesting. I think we all realize the challenges with the Rourke Bridge, and I think it's something your feedback added to, I guess, others will. Hopefully, we need to move that along quicker. because we'd like to have those folks utilize some of the restaurants in the downtown or even in the vicinity. That's something we need to obviously work on. What was interesting, you pointed out today, first of all, I apologize. Thank you very much for taking the time this evening, and to
My
Mr.
pleasure.
Cook as well. Thank you. The other part is UMass Lowell. I think obviously folks are trying to align themselves with UMass Lowell. Any advice you would give to the city in terms of how we would utilize or maximize, I guess, that for other parts of our city? What steps would you take to align yourselves with UMass Lowell in attracting these types of startup companies?
If I could just take a crack at that, about maybe 15, 16 years ago, we did an informal survey of companies as to what is it that they would seek in a community? What were the deciding factors in locating your company here in Lowell or anywhere? And surprisingly, it was not rent, and it was not the building itself. It was the community. They wanted a community that had a good, strong educational system. That was, and I'm not going to rank these, but that was one of the top 4. A community that had a strong sense of something to do, that there was an element, whether it was the arena or the baseball park or ethnic restaurants, but the quality of life was strong here. That the homes were good, there were good neighbors for the employees to move to, and you could get in and out. Those were the things they talked to us about. It was not cheap rent, it was not, space. They feel they could get space anywhere, but what would draw them here? And I think the city's marketing campaign is critical. I think John will tell you that what's happening with that campaign now is working constantly on that image issue. The ties we have with the university are really strong. They're probably stronger than they've ever been. And that's a workforce that they just can't get anywhere else. So they see that in the whole educational system, because if they're going to move their families here, they want to know what's K-8 like, what's the high school like. Those investments that a city makes, whether it's in a high school or the other buildings, all pertain to economic development, even though they're not always seen that way. Those are the things that will draw a company here. You see something taking place at a high school, they're going to look at that and say, we can move our company here. Our employees will want to live here, and then our employees will want to send their kids to school here. So those are the things that I think the city and the public side can do. And I don't think your relationship with the university could possibly be stronger than it is now. I mean, and Middlesex, I should add, Middlesex Community College also, they can tailor their programs to accommodate trainees. So whether it's a biotech company or robotics or you name it, Middlesex can also do that too. So those are key factors, and they're all on the public side of things that companies look for.
Thank you. Any other councilors have anything? Council Leahy? Okay, I'm sorry. Council Belanger?
Well, thank you, Council Leahy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, thank you to John Powell for being here, and Jim Cook, and Mr. Powell, thank you kindly for lighting up your smokestack, sincerely. It's greatly, greatly appreciated, and you don't want to know what you created. It's almost like a revolution we're trying to do here, with lighting up the canals and the smokestacks that created from the success that you started. So thank you very much for doing that. It's greatly appreciated. But, I just want to thank Mr. Powell for all he's done here in the city. That it's nothing shy of very impressive how, you see the Cross River Tower and Wanalancet, which are internally located in this city, and how the vacancy rate is so low. That in itself is a huge achievement, especially on Wanalancet. I mean, to be that tucked away in the center of the city like that, away from highways, that speaks for itself, absolutely. So I just want to thank him for all he's done, and let him know that our door is always open if you ever need anything for your business or your tenants. We will be there for you, and just want to let you know on another note that we have lots of available parcels at the Hamilton Canal. Please keep that in mind as well. So we are talented, and we want to keep you here as well. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that a whole lot. Let me make sure that one thing is really clear here. I laugh a little bit about the smokestack. One of the things that was really important, one of the critical components that so often communities underappreciate are the subtle opportunities to sell. I do believe I was born a salesman. I think I will probably die a salesman. I mean, I believe that life is selling. And there is no better way, in my opinion, no better way to sell people on a city than to try to do it through their children. Children see that smokestack. It makes a difference in their lives. It makes a difference to their parents. We don't know how many companies, how many people will locate to the city of Lowell because some child went with a parent to look at the smokestack. We just won't know that. But we will know one thing. That experience is probably better because they went and saw lit canals. They went and saw lit smokestacks. They went into the folk festival. They went to Winterfest. This is not just John Power. This is a lot of different things that happen that the community invests in. And those experiences are really important because what happens is, I have to use the example because I think it's so critical. General Electric didn't move to Boston. General Electric was sold on changing its global headquarters to the city of Boston. And that was a bunch of different things, from all kinds of things. It might have even been, crazy as it seems, from the failed Olympic bid that got the city of Boston on somebody's radar screen. Maybe Jeff Immelt saw something and said, wow, those guys are actually big enough to go after an Olympics. That you don't know what the things are that make somebody's mind up, but I do know that the better the experiences are from the MRT and all of the things the city does. I mean, I could go on and on and on. That's one of the reasons that I believe so strongly in investing in Lowell. It's not just because I like the buildings, which I do, but it's because I like the people, and I look out there and say, if I wanted to have my business somewhere, where would I have it? Where would my employees like to be? I'd encourage any one of you, talk to our folks over at the Wanna-Lancet. That we run all of our northern Massachusetts properties out of the Wanna-Lancet Mill. Ask any one of those employees. They like coming to Lowell. Yeah, they complain once in a while if there's a backup over on the bridge trying to get across the river or something. But in general, they find that they can live their lives and they can feel rewarded in the city, and they have opportunities to do other things. And by the way, that can be in all kinds of different areas. The university brings folks into the Songus Arena for events and for political rallies and for all kinds of different events. And that all of those things inure to the benefits of this city on a long-term basis.
Thank you. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you also for coming down, Mr. Cook also. And you hit the nail right on the head there. It's the experience that we're trying to sell here. And that's what people are going to remember, and that's why hopefully they'll relocate to Lowell. They'll choose to live here, choose to have their business. So everything that, you contribute to and that we're working towards, you're right, it's the experience that we're trying to get people here on. So I just want to say thank you, and the next thing we have to do is help you with that traffic right in front of Cross Point. We get a set of lights there for you or something, but thank you for all you do.
Well, you don't need to say thank you. I do appreciate it very much. I'm happy to do it. I enjoy it. I truly do enjoy every day when I come up to the city and spending time here. So it's a great experience.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to echo my colleagues as well and thank Jim and you, John, for coming here. I know you're both very, very busy, but yet you took the time to come down and share with us your experience, and I like your enthusiasm. And when we talk about the city being a great city, it's because of people like you and you too, Jim, who take this city and mold it into something exciting, as you did with the smokestack. And I know that you're probably tired of hearing it, but we're very, very proud. We get a lot of compliments for something you did. So, and I say thank you because I'm all excited that people are so happy. but you're filling this city, the void, the emptiness that was once in. I remember Cross Point when it was empty, and then it developed people to come in, and people complained about all the traffic, and I said, this is good traffic, this is good, people are working. So we're very, very proud. You are an ambassador to the city. This is what makes our city great. It's people like you and the enthusiasm, and you're teaching us a lesson in how to market our city and develop it and what we can focus on and make it better for people to come in. So thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. I will say, it is my opinion that the marketing campaign, again, it's one of those subtle things that makes a difference. But all of the councilors should know, I mean, don't ever underestimate what a wonderful place you have here. This city is the kind of place that millennials want to go to. This is the kind of place where they may not have fully discovered it yet, but they're going to. And I'm firmly convinced that that the Hamilton Canal is a wonderful opportunity to have something that would be very unique. I think the city's, Diane Tradd and her group have done a great job in the design of that area and helping to permit that area. And I think you'll have it's going to be an extraordinary spot. And you'll all look back 10, 15, 20 years from now and say, boy, did that place change and did this city change? And it's on a wonderful direction that I think is just moving upward.
Thank you, John. City Manager, do you have any?
Team, Diane Tradd, Allison Lammy, Craig Thomas, and the rest of the group. They do an excellent job. I was interested, I just want to mention this, as you said, what can the City Council do to help out economic development? I don't think you give yourselves enough credit. You do great things to spur economic development in the city of Lowell. You had the wisdom to give Metrographics a tax incentive financing program. And if you ask Metrographics why they located across River, they'll say the number one reason was the TIF that this city council gave to them. You had the courage, I say courage, and the wisdom to give a TIF to Markley Group to take over the dilapidated Prince building. They have now invested more than $200 million in that facility and has made it a great business, and that emanates from your vote for the TIF. And the old post office on Phoenix Ave that Somerset Industries took over. That turned a non-taxable parcel into a taxable generating parcel, and all because of the TIF that you, in your wisdom, granted to Somerset Industries. So the City Council does a great job in partnership with our administration, and I just want to credit all of you for the great job that you do in spurring economic development.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And on behalf of the Subcommittee on Economic Development, Mr. Powell, we want to thank you, and Mr. Cook from the Lowell Plan, thank you. You know, we can talk a lot about what we're trying to do for the city, but it's someone like yourself, when the constituents look on and listen in to what's going on, that's the type of information they need to hear. We can say we're doing good things, but it's till someone like yourself can come forth with the actual facts about why people want to come to Lowell. So we just need help in helping you maintain that type of effort. So your positive attitude of the Lowell Plan has truly been a help. And the city manager has a staff that's ready to and willing to work with everyone. I mean, I think we've got the right ingredients. I think it's there. And hopefully with everybody communicating, and I think that's the word, we communicate with each other, and I think we have to maintain, sure that we do communicate with you, to not just say, well, you've done great things, we don't have to deal with you anymore. It has to be constant to maintain good things. So thank you for that. Is there any questions you have of us?
No, just one. I would say, first of all, that I'm not planning to go anywhere, God willing. And I'm going to be here, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow and to next year and to doing more things in the city. And if any one of you run into any one of those owners of those other smokestacks, remind them that we're not going to give up. It's just a matter of time. It's just, they might as well make it easy and do it the easy way. So we're going to keep pushing on that. I think it's just, I know this, that I know that it's a great opportunity, one of a lifetime, and we're really excited about it. So Thanks
Thank
again
you.
for having me.
Thank you, and good luck. And motion to,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
City Clerk, call the roll.
Chairman Samaras,
Yes,
Council Milonazo,
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
3 yeas.
thank you.